Football Friday continues, and I'm excited for this one, everybody. Before we bring in Jason Riley, I'll tell you, he is my kind of guy. Played in the CFL with the Blue Bombers in 83, the Rough Riders in 84, and then the Hamilton Tiger Cats 84 to 93. CFL All-Star, 4 times divisional, All-Canadian once, but he's an author too. We can bring Jason on now. Author of the book Taming Mad Dog, and I brought this up, Jason. This is why I knew you're my kind of guy. Taming Mad Dog is a book about raw bones football from the trenches, not for the faint of heart. Through passionate stories leading to 3 national football championships, but deeper themes emerging in the book include inclusiveness, bullying prevention, mental health strategies, and spiritual growth. So, namaste, my friend. How are things with you?
Very well, Rod. Very well. I don't know if I can match your energy, though. You're unbelievable.
I had a lot of Tim Hortons, my friend, and we do have a mutual friend in Leo Ezrins. But listen, man, we don't have enough time in this interview to talk about your story, but it sounds like a hell of one. What made you want to write a book, and all of that?
Well, philosophically, you make a living telling stories and talking sports, right? And whenever I get together with my football members of my football fraternity, that's what we do. I hosted last weekend. I hosted our '86 Grey Cup offensive line in my backyard. I smoked a beef brisket I put it on at 4 a.m. in the morning, and smoked it for 14 hours, and fed the boys, and they were all here, and for what? To share stories. Right, so we've been sharing stories for years, and guys have said, you know what, Jason, you should write a book because people want to hear these stories from the trenches, you know. So anyway, my rough draft that I wrote during COVID, starting it at COVID, it took me 3 years to get to the final draft, but it was 500 pages of football stories. Well, life stories to start with, but football stories. Initially intended for, hardcore fans and coaches, and I'm just writing in my normal football lingo, and my editor says to me, you know what, Jason, I'm not a football person, so can you define some terms for me so I know what you're talking about, right? And I thought, oh my God, I got the wrong editor, right? I expected a list of maybe 10 or 12 terms. She sent me 5 pages of terms. It was like writing an essay. That became the appendix. Appendix A in my book is all key terms from the book, so that a neophyte or someone new to football can go to the appendix and get some explanation of the wordage that's used. And people have told me, you know what, I'm a season ticket holder for 20 years, but I read your appendix first, and it really helped me understand the game. Because I didn't know where the will linebacker was half the time. Simone Lawrence is my favorite player. He's playing will linebacker, and I didn't know where he was. Now I know they flip sides. They didn't know that the defense flipped sides depending on the hash and field position, stuff like that. So it's been quite a journey. But then she also identified the fact that I was bullied as a child, and she said, rather than just having football as your theme, let's do bullying prevention as a theme, because it obviously had a major impact on you. So she said, please revisit those stories where you were bullied, because I described them, but I didn't tell how I felt at the time. So that was very therapeutic for me. I'm telling you, it opened up like a gusher of emotions, and I didn't realize how much bullying had impacted me until I started writing about it, and it was very therapeutic to write it down, and it expanded on those stories. And then I started realizing how it did impact me, and that football basically, kept me out of jail, because I started fighting because I was bullied, and I was angry, had this internal anger. And, I think of the kids today where they can be bullied 24/7 on social media, right? And I didn't have that. I had a supportive family to go home to after I got bullied as a wee child, because I didn't hit my growth spurt till I was in grade 10. I was 14, 15 years old, and I grew like a weed. But up until that point, I was bullied incessantly, and it really impacted me. And football was my outlet. So to me, football is the best sport in the world for adolescent young men that have these things going on in their lives, and they can have an outlet for it on the field and not hurt anybody, because the equipment is so good and the training is so good nowadays that, injuries are relatively few. Physically.
Yeah, and then, of course, yeah, well, I know, of course. But then when the career's over and you can't get paid to beat on somebody, what are we going to do then? Because that little guy's still inside that's angry, right?
Yeah. Well, hopefully, that you grow as you age and you develop and mature as a person, and also you learn to coping mechanisms, and that's some of the things that I talk about in the book. And I actually Appendix B. I mean, I learned, for example, meditation. I took psychology courses and things like that, and just over the course of my educational career and learning and experiences, I put together this program that I used with my players when I coached at McMaster, because I ended up coaching at Al Bruno brought me to McMaster to coach his offensive line, and I stayed there for a period of 25 years with a couple of breaks for COVID and other things. But for over a period of 25 years, I coached offensive line at Mac, and that's in the story too. That with Greg Marshall at the helm, turning that program around, and I developed this program to like a meditation for my players. The last thing we would do before a playoff game is do this relaxation meditation activity that I developed over the years. And I used to do it with my classes. I taught for 30 years after football. I started when I was still playing, but anyway, it was very useful. My students enjoyed it. My players enjoyed it. And it really helped them to calm themselves down and last preparation for a game.
We should do a hot stove together sometime. And I teased Jim Barker about this, but I bring it up like every week. He said he wouldn't draft that J.J. McCarthy guy out of Michigan because he's into that weird meditation stuff. I'm like, I do it multiple times a day, Jim. It's the only reason I'm still roaming this planet is because of that. But Jim kind of represents the people that don't believe in it. Yeah. And we're never maybe gonna get him to see it. I don't know.
I use meditation and visualization my entire career. Like, you get yourself in a mental state and then go through your assignments for the game in a meditative state and visualize yourself being successful. Visualization, we should tell Coach, because we just did the CFL alumni lunch last week in Toronto together. And
saw that, yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't come up, huh?
No, it didn't come up. But it's the second best thing to practicing is actually visualizing yourself doing the activity.
Right, but I can also say this, Jason, is that I'm open-minded enough to say Jim's won 5 Grey Cups. There's nothing to say that what he's doing's wrong, right? I get he's had success in his way. But
he didn't believe in stretching either.
Well, yeah, I get it. Listen, we do have to run here, but where can people get your book, Jason? Taming Mad Dogs.
You know what? Lulu.com. Lulu.com, Lulu.com is Bob Young, the owner of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. That's his online publishing company. And Lulu.com, you can get it if you're not in the Hamilton area. If you're in the Hamilton area, the club is very supportive of this project, and it's available in the Tiger Cat store down at Tim Hortons Field as well. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get a chance, because you're in Regina, right? And I played.
Moose Jaw.
You're in Moose Jaw
40 miles west, but yeah.
Well, you know what? I played for Regina. You mentioned it. I played for Saskatchewan, and I'm one of the few linemen that was traded for a quarterback. You know who I was traded for? This is Stumper, John Huffnagel.
I was just going to say John Huffnagel. It just came into my head. I'm matching up the years. Yeah. Well, no. Listen, I remember the day because he was out at Bob Poley's in Grand Coulee. It's a long story. They were trying all day to get a hold of Huff. It's a longer story than we have now. And he was so rattled when he found out he drove in the wrong way down the Trans-Canada Highway, the wrong lane, because he was so rattled that he was traded. So, yeah. All right, Jason, we do got to roll, but I appreciate this. He just said let's do it again soon. Taming Mad Dog, congratulations on the career and the book.
Thank you very much, and I'd love to come on again and share more football stories with you. Love your enthusiasm.
Outstanding.
Rob.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, buddy. Thanks for all you do. Jason Riley, author of Taming Mad Dog and CFL alum.